for this subject, as you know, you've got to pass 3 things. Easier than last time. So assignment part 1, assignment part 2, and a theory test. Okay, the part 1 is a sort of written analysis type assignment, whereas part 2 is more practical hands-on assignment, and the quiz is just a multiple choice quiz similar to what you might have seen before. So if we actually open up, so sort of last lesson I asked you guys to have a look at it for homework, but if we have a look at what we have to do to pass, okay, these are the 3 things, and the assignment part 1 is what we want to look at. And if we look at assignment part 1, let's actually look at when is it due. Okay, so before we even start looking at what it's actually, it involves, let's find out when it's due. So look at your study schedule, and obviously if we look at our study schedule, you'll see that the assignment 1 is actually due in session 7, so which is basically the start of week 4. Okay, so not long, but to be honest, the assignment 1 doesn't need that much time to do if you sort of are on the right track. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the assignment 1 is actually a security analysis. Okay, so you'll see that this subject is all about security, data integrity, and maintaining security of your network. So if you look at it, the key things we're going to look at in this particular assignment is viruses, malware, network threats, physical threats, network vulnerability, network hardening, IDS, encryption. But let's actually give you a bit of background on what it is. Okay, so if you remember, you guys have done the 5 ICW subject. If you remember in the 5 ICW subject, you had this scenario where there's this company called Erfys Confectionaries. So you built that network for them, didn't you? You designed it, you built it, and at the end of the day, you passed, which means you built it and you were successful. Okay, so this is like as if it's 2 or 3 years down the track. They've asked you to come back because they want to extend their network. Okay, they want to extend their network, they want to increase it, improve it, and add more functionality to it, as well as, in this case, secure it. Okay, so the backstory is the same, how the company was founded, so I won't go through that a bit. But there's 2 parts. Like I said, the first part is an analysis of the security. The second part is building the virtual machine. So even though you see that you talk about VMs and stuff like that, that's referring to the second part, okay? So if we have a look at the scenario, you are a consultant for IT Works, which is the company that you work for. And you've been engaged to actually secure the network for Erfys Confectionery. And after a presentation of a presentation and an approval process, IT Works will then build the new network, which actually extends on what we talked about previously. Okay, so that's basically what it's talking about. Okay, so last time when we spoke about it, we really only concentrated on the Adelaide side, didn't we, with the domain controller, file server, and stuff like that. The key thing you'll notice in this particular one is that we always talked about 2 sites, a production site, which is down Elizabeth, head office in Adelaide. If we got these 2 sites, how do we make sure the data is the same? So we're going to talk about synchronizing data and sharing data across from Adelaide to Elizabeth. We're going to look at how we can secure this, and we'll be talking about in our build part, the VPN. Okay, site-to-site VPN, and also the company is lacking a web presence. So basically, every company these days has a website. So one of the other things we have to do is actually create a website for them that will host their website that's been designed already, and we need to secure it with HTTPS for some parts of it. So they'll come in part 2. With the increase in internet access, so basically now we're sort of not just totally LAN anymore, it's a lot of WAN interactions, isn't it? So besides people who are actually physically on site that potentially could do damage or steal secrets or, you know, that would be malicious, you got all sorts of people that's on the internet that could possibly do the same now. So we need you to evaluate the security of our information, the viruses, from viruses and malware, as well as privacy of transmitted information. So if you don't know what that means, is when we send information to and fro. Okay, let's say to and fro your computer to another computer, maybe on the internet, or even from the site to site, or even from the data replication we're talking about. How do we make sure that it's actually secure? How do we make sure that someone can't just use something like Wireshark and pick up all the packets and just reassemble it and capture all your information? Okay. The current server room exists in an old storage room next to the basement of the building. It is currently has only one power point and has been extended with power boards. The servers have gone off from time to time and has been attributed to peak power usage periods. Staff has also noticed that the room is stuffy and does not contain any air conditioning. So hopefully that scenario already triggers a couple of things in your head. One of the things is, like, if you got a whole server room full of servers, one PowerPoint is not probably enough. And as it says, it's actually being tripped. Okay. And obviously, a server's physical machine servers, they produce a lot of heat, and you need to be cooled optimally. Right now, it's not cooled. So this is what we call environmental issues. Okay. So the first part is read the information security policy in Appendix A. So let me just scroll right down to the bottom. So this is a example of the information security policy. It's a very simple one, basic one, and there's probably plenty of things it does not address adequately or fully, or it's too generic, or it's too brief, or it's not enough detail to, and stuff like that. Okay, so if you have a look at these things, so one of the part of this competency is to be able to analyze or assess our current practices. Okay, so practices is what they do from the scenario, and also the policies what they have in place right now. So the first part what you have to do is actually look at the security policy as well as the scenario and identify any weaknesses. Okay, weaknesses. And basically we're going to then meet. So obviously, as with other subjects, you realize there's going to be oral components with everything. Not everything, but there's going to be oral components with different competencies. So this is one of those. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to meet. You're going to give me a 5-minute sort of summary of what is wrong with the current situation as far from a point of view of security point of view. Okay. An environmental point of view that we talked about just then. So if you actually quickly, just a word of tip, if you actually quickly look at our topics, we talk about DNS, we talk about Active Directory, domain services, user and service accounts, group policies. We talk about VPN. We talk about firewalls and intrusion detection systems and antiviruses. We talk about file encryption and auditing. We talk about web services and securing them with HTTPS. Okay, they're the different topics. I know we haven't covered all the topics yet, and we're going to be going through that. But to be honest, when you look at the security policy, you look at the thing, is their data encrypted? Or is there any provision for encryption? And that could be encryption of where it's stored. It could be encryption of where it's sent. Or if it's stored, if you remember, we talked about a backup, didn't we? What about backing up to the cloud? Is it going to be encrypted when it's backed up to the cloud? Because obviously, if your data is just unencrypted and clear text, if it's stored somewhere and someone gets access of it, then all your permissions are pointless, isn't it? Okay. Other thing does it address human behavior? Okay, so one of your weakest point is how your users behave. Let's say you got a secure area and people just leave the door wide open and let people come in and out. Well, that's just think of your house. If you just leave your front door wide open all the time, it doesn't matter how great your walls are and fences are, your monitoring, security systems are, you've just made a big, giant open doorway for someone to come in and do something bad. So user behavior is very important. So maybe user training, maybe making them informed, like you've heard of all those phishing type attacks, where it doesn't rely on technical, logical, actual, you know, attacks. It's more like tricking people, isn't it? Like, your eBay username passwords needs to be updated. Can you click on this link to update? Well, if you click on that link without realizing who's it from, you might be updating your password, but they might be taking a copy of it, for example. But not training your users to make sure that they don't actually click on those links, and if they want to change their password, if they're really worried about it, to go to the website they're talking about directly and change it from there. What about like social engineering? Heard of that? That's where I always ask the question: who in this class as a PIN number, personal identification number, or as part of their password includes their date of birth? Has anyone actually used that before? Yeah, and those people who are not putting their hand up, probably, if you think back, maybe not right now, you probably have. So if that's the case, if it's social engineering, couldn't I, become your friend, find out what your birthday is, and suddenly, bang, got your PIN, haven't we? All right, so stuff like that. If we talk about, communication remote access, we talk about VPN in our topics. Okay, we can always just share the folders to the internet, but that's not very secure, is it? Okay, so VPN, if you don't know what it is, a virtual private network, it actually encrypts the communication. Again, going back to encryption. Why is that important? Okay, so that's where we actually identify some of these things that's not done well or in their practice, as well as not done well, not specified well in their security policies. Really, so you need to just have a discussion with me on Skype, and we'll record this and we'll identify the issues. Be prepared to answer the questions when you bring up something. It's a discussion, isn't it? It's not just you talking, it's a discussion. So when you bring something up, if you bring anything up, prepare to answer the question. If you talk about, there's no encryption, then I'm asked, what's encryption? But if you can't explain it to me, it sort of doesn't make it sound good if you can't explain it to me, okay? Here's another one. Evan Zerfel has heard of numerous stories about a newly discovered ransomware. So, really, we're referring to that WannaCry virus that went around last year. Remember that? No? Never heard of it? That's where, like, a lot of systems were encrypted. And it's called ransomware because they got encrypted and you had to pay a ransom to get it unencrypted. If you remember, a lot of the British, sorry? Yeah, the health system, a lot of them got attacked, okay? So basically what I'm trying to say is in this particular one, what you have to do is actually answer the following. Create a description of the threat. What the hell is ransomware? Okay? What is the fix of it? Okay? Calculate the potential cost. So this is a bit of that numeracy we're talking about, okay? So if we had a loss, if the business, say, what is the potential cost to the business if the threat resulted in the loss of data that required 1,452 hours to create, and this happened twice this financial year, assuming a person pay is about $25 an hour to recreate that. And the reputational damage is $1,000 every time this incident becomes public. So show you working out. So it's all about numeracy, isn't it? Okay, if you're enumerate, you would know that that's how many hours, that's work cost per hour, that's work cost per time, then what is the total? Okay, so obviously this is proving that it's one of those language literacy and numeracy type things. So the next thing is, how can a company be protected from these ransomware? Okay, do a bit of research. This is where you have to find out what changes will need to be implemented to protect yourself. Okay. And then again, part of the oral presentation is you have to create a 5-minute video. In this case, it's not face-to-face. It's just like a presentation. You know how I created those videos when I'm presenting a PowerPoint and stuff like that? So in your presentation, make sure you have a copy of your PowerPoint that has a title, that has an objective, that has the different topics like description of the threat, the effects, the costs, uh, the protection, and maybe a summary. Okay, just talk your way through it. I'm sure you've done stuff like that before. It's a bit like if you were asked to present this to the board, yeah, in a board meeting, you would come prepared and be able to present it. But instead of you doing it in front of me or in front of the whole class, you just need to create a video. I always suggest you use the Skype for Business. Okay, I've seen other people just use their phone to record their screen. Okay, I'm not saying that's probably not very professional. First of all, I'm not saying Skype for Business is the professional software, but when you record the screen, it's all jerky and stuff like that. It's very hard to watch, and also it results in a very big file. So for about a 5-minute file, you're looking at about 500 megs. That's huge. Okay, if you look at my Skype for Business videos, if you actually record it through that, they're just like what I'm doing right now. It's very small. Okay, and also then you put on your OneDrive and then you share it with me. Or you can, if it's small enough, you can upload it directly with your assignment on the left. Next part is, so these are some things. Okay, denial of service, hacking, reputational, repudiation, malware. What the hell are they? Well, I don't know. Maybe you know, maybe you don't know. But basically, there's a table to fill out. Choose. So from the list, select 4. So there's a whole heap of lists here. Select 4 of them. Don't have to do them all. Just select 4 of them and populate this table. And if you see that there's only one line, I'm not after one line, one word answers. Okay. You can obviously keep on typing. It will just keep on growing this table. But what we need to do is make sure identify the threat. What is it? Why is it considered a threat? The effects on your network, and some risk mitigation strategies. If you don't know what that means, it's like if there's a risk that I'll have an accident driving my car, one of the risk mitigation strategies is to buy insurance. It doesn't stop the thing from happening, but if it does happen, I've got insurance. Okay, that's what mitigation is. Sorry? Safeguards, right? Yeah, you could change your practice. Like, for example, obeyed driving rules could be another risk mitigation, reduces the likelihood of me having an accident if I obeyed the traffic laws. Okay, so what could you do? Let's say to protect yourself against viruses. Maybe have an antivirus. Maybe having it updated constantly. Maybe running through scans every week or every day or something like that. Okay. But do a bit of research, because I don't think you should be able to type all the answers off the top of your head. And if you do, how do you know they're correct? So do a bit of research before you come up with your answers. But I definitely don't want you to copy and paste either. Okay, it's your words. Put in your own words these things. And obviously, the trick with these answers is to give enough details to satisfy the requirements, but not so much rubbish that it looks like you copied and pasted out of some Wikipedia or something like that. Okay. Here's another table. Here's a couple other things, like there's design flaws, application bugs. Again, do a bit of research and fill out this table. Okay. Yeah, again, same sort of situations. Now this is to do with environmental threats. We've already talked about how the room is humid, hot. It's a basement. There might be water leaks. And what about physical security? Okay, so physical security is one of the easiest ways and most effective ways to secure your network. You close the door, you lock it. That just eliminates such a big factor of being attacked. Don't forget, it doesn't matter how good your security is. If I have physical access to your computer, it's just a matter of, and pretty much anyone could actually hack it. Just imagine, and remember, with all those boot disks, bootable USBs, physically plugged in, turn it on, and now I'm running on my own operating system on then, and then I can actually attack what's on the hard drive. Okay, so when you actually prevent that physical direct access, you are protecting quite a lot. Just another example is just think about your ADSL router at home. You set a username and password so you can go do the web administration, don't you? But what happens if you forgot the password? What you do is you go to the physical router, you get a pin, and you push this little reset button down for about 30 seconds and goes back to defaults. So it doesn't matter how great your username and password was, If someone has physical access, they've just actually physically reset your password, haven't they? Okay, don't forget, some attacks are not just necessarily to steal your data. Some attacks are just there so to inconvenience you, to make you actually to deny service to your legitimate customers. Okay, if you combine that with physical, easiest way to deny service to your users, unplug the server. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Physical security, even though it seems obvious, is one of the most effective and easiest things to implement. And physical security is anything you do to physically secure the premises. Lock the doors, cameras, sign in, sign out, security guards, okay? Stuff like that. Anything you physically secure. So here's another table again. And this is to do with network hardening techniques. So we spoke about encryption, DMZ, IDS, and so forth. Yeah, what are they? Why are they beneficial? Okay, so again, it says select 4. Don't have to choose all of them. Choose 4. Again, probably should do some research about finding out what they are, how they benefit someone who has them. And then there's, I think that's the last part. Okay, you can see that's not very lengthy. Okay, this last part is a security monitoring tool. So you get to go to this website, and if we go to this website, here we go. You can go to this website, and it's basically, it talks about the 20 top free network monitoring analysis tools. They're free. And you can see there's a whole heap of them. So have a look through it. Have a look at which one interests you. Choose one, download it, install it on your home computer. Okay? If you don't want to install it on your home computer because you don't like installing software on your home computer, create a virtual machine, install on there. But it's probably a little bit more, it gives you a little bit more information, more useful if you actually put it on your home computer. Because who's to say you don't have any problems already on your home computer? So with one of these tools, learn how to use it in the basic level, which means download it, install it, work out what some of the things are. If there's some instructions, get it to work. Then use it to monitor your home or TFSA network. If you don't want to do it on the home computer, do it here. And see if there's any threats that's discovered. Okay? And what you want to do is actually create some screenshots here to show me that you've actually installed it, running it, and identify any threats that you've got. Okay? And obviously not just screenshots by themselves, a bit of explanation underneath each of the screenshots, and that's it. So if you look at this assignment, it's fairly straightforward, in my opinion. Okay? A lot of it is just research, finding out about those terms, because as you probably realize, there's no way we can teach you everything about everything from a TAFE course. A lot of the times is to teach you enough for you to be able to learn for yourself in the future. Okay, so that's why there's a bit of research in there. That's all about learning how to learn. Okay, so the key thing, probably the hardest thing, and it's not really that hard to be honest, is the security analysis. Okay, and don't forget that has to be done through an interview. Okay, so don't forget you have to write down some of the problem, but also discuss in the interview. Okay, so that's what I want you to work on from now until was the session 7, which is the start of week 4. Okay, that's when it's due. And obviously, if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask me. Whether you email it to me if you don't feel like asking in class, or whether you ask it in class and maybe other people want to know the same things as well. So it's up to you. So.